Welcome to the Left of Str8 Show, your one-stop destination for intriguing conversations with extraordinary individuals who are boldly navigating life outside the conventional norms. Our host, Scott Fullerton, is thrilled to embark on this journey of discovery with all of you. The Left of Str8 Show, we believe that every person's story is unique, and it's our mission to showcase the diversity of human experiences. We bring you the untold stories of fascinating people who identify as LGBT+ and allies, pushing boundaries, breaking stereotypes, and making a positive impact in our communities. On this show, we bring you a diverse lineup of inspiring guests, from activists to artists, and entrepreneurs to entertainers, and everything in between. We dive deep into their personal journeys, discovering the pivotal moment that has shaped their lives and careers. You can expect thought-provoking discussions on a wide range of topics, from LGBTQ rights, social justice to arts, culture, mental health, and more. Our guests are change makers who share their insights, challenges, and triumphs, igniting conversation that promotes empathy, understanding, and love. So whether you're part of the LGBTQ community or an ally looking to expand your knowledge and show your support, the Left of Str8 Show is for you. Together, we can build bridges of understanding and acceptance, celebrating the beauty of what makes us all unique. So sit back, grab a drink, and get ready for the show.
Well, welcome back to the Left of Str8 Show. So glad to have you back. I'm your host, as always, Scott Fullerton, and I'm so lucky to be able to interview celebrities and personalities from the worlds of entertainment, foodies, books, music, and advocacy for our LGBTQ community and, of course, our straight allies. Today, I'm joined by a new friend to the Left of Str8 Show. Alex Ringler's in the studio with me. He's brought to my attention by our buddy Michael Mott earlier this year, and we're finally able to get our schedule together, funny enough, while he's working here in Ohio. Alex is one of those multi-hyphenate, amazing entertainers who can act, sing, write, direct. He even choreographs. He's done it all for many great productions, including his own, whether on the stage, where he's now touring the country with the original touring company of Broadway's Mrs. Doubtfire, or creating his own shows like Annoyingly Fit Neighbor or the short thriller Haunted, or choreographing stage shows like Naked Boys Singing and the premiere of Off-Broadway's Icons. Alex has the talent, the looks, and the voice we're looking for in entertainment, and I really appreciate him taking the time from a busy touring schedule to stop by. So please welcome to Left of Str8 Show the very first time, the handsome, the talented, Mr. Alex Ringler's here. Alex, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, thank you for such a wonderful introduction. That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you for all the wonderful things you do. I am a Broadway fan through and through, and you've done a lot of that,
Yay.
plus so many things on your own. So I'm excited to have you on. Like I said, we were introduced through Michael. He was a voice coach for you, I believe, and
It
you
was.
guys. He kind of tells me that you had a project going at the time. So I'm glad to kind of make your acquaintance. Whenever I meet a new Broadway guy, it's like, yes, I'm so excited to talk to you.
Good. Yeah, Michael was great. He really helped me when I first started or when I first started in West Side Story on Broadway. He was there. He's friends with Jeremy Jordan, and Jeremy Jordan joined the show. And so
Right.
he kind of posted on our bulletin board, come take voice lessons with me. And I, being a dancer, I was always so kind of insecure about my voice, and he helped me kind of get over that bridge and start working on it in a real way. So that was nice.
Oh, nice. That is
Yeah.
awesome. Well, all Left of Str8 Show virgins, I have two questions for to start off with. The first would kind
Okay.
of like to let everyone know, where did you grow up and what kind of a kid were you starting out?
Oh goodness, I grew up in Tempe, Arizona, which is right outside of Phoenix. There's actually a big touring house there for Broadway tours, and I've been at that. I grew up watching that theater or shows come to that theater, and then I got to perform there at least, I would say, 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 at this point. I was, the little gay kid. I can't like really try to hide it. Like I was in dance from the age of 5. I was dressing up as Dorothy like when I was 4. So it was just like kind of dyed in the wool that I would be what I became to be. I had a lot of great friends growing up though. kind of like not really part of the quote unquote in crowd. Didn't get along with too many like of the other boys in the school, but had a lot of like lovely girlfriends who we would kiki a lot, and I brought them up through high school, and even now some of them, one girl I knew from kindergarten, we still communicate back and forth with, so it's nice.
That's very cool. Now,
Yeah.
for dance, were you drawn to dance, or was it something that mom and dad thought would make you coordinated, or what kind of got you into dance in the beginning, such an early age?
I feel like some parents put their children into dance just to get the extra energy out, because it's like, okay, you have this energy, you go. But my mother said that I asked to go into dance. I don't recall this. This is what she told me, though. So then, around the age of 5, they took me to my local dance academy, Tempe Dance Academy, and I think I would go there after school mostly. I would go to school, and then like there would be like 2 to 3 hours of dance after school while my parents finished work, and then they would come pick me up from there and then go home.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
And then you kind of answered my second question. My second question I asked everyone is, when did you first kind of come out to yourself, and when do you feel you kind of found your LGBTQ tribe? So you've obviously knew early on for yourself, but talk about a little bit about coming to terms with yourself, and where do you kind of think you found your LGBTQ tribe, if you ever have?
I don't know. I think I didn't come out very early at all. I didn't like fully come out to like parents and friends until I moved 2,000 miles away and went to college, and I was dropped in the center of the neighborhood in Philadelphia in University of the Arts. I remember coming outside. It was like maybe 3 weeks into my first semester, and there was a big gay party happening, and it was Outfest that happens in Philadelphia in the neighborhood, and I was like, oh wow. And so by the end of that semester, I was out at school, and then I came home and came out to my parents. So I was 19 when that happened. I maybe started admitting it to myself later teens. Like there was kind of the struggle of like, okay, I have these feelings or I'm attracted to this, but maybe I'll still grow up and have a wife. And just because you're like, how do I reconcile those two things? And so, but then when I think seeing the joy and the support in the Philadelphia gay community what made it very easy. And also I never thought it would be an issue with my parents either. My parents, very, Catholic upbringing, but in kind of a cool way, never in a like we hate people. It was always like we're here about the love. And so I never
Oh,
knew I knew it would never be an issue with them, but it's still hard, you know. But they
sure.
were very cool. And so yeah, since 19 I was out. And as far as tribes, um I don't know. I think it's kind of hard because I worked a lot in my 20s, so my tribes tended to be the people I was in shows with. And then I have a friend, Daniel in Boston, who had this like group of gay friends who they did everything together. And I was like, oh, I kind of, I don't know if I have that, because like most of my gay friends were like work related, and then the show would end and they would kind of go away. Like you'd stay in touch here and there. So I didn't really feel like I necessarily had a tribe, except for probably the performing community in New York, and then honestly through Broadway Bears, because that tends to be a very like kind of supportive community there. And so and they come back every year, and then you stay in touch every year.
Well, it's funny you say that because I'm a huge fan of Broadway Bears and Broadway Backwards. And doing my
Hmm.
research, I didn't realize, I mean, you've been on my radar for a while because I was a huge Newsies fan, Ryan's Steele, totally in love with. And then I saw you were in Cell Block Tango because I remember when I first saw it, it's like you and Joshua were like, I had to Google these people. I knew Ryan, I was already in love with Ryan. Then I saw you and Joshua in there. It's like, I'm loving this little performance. So those are fun things. I love for those. I'm sure they're probably hard work for you guys, but those are fun.
They're they're hard but fun. Like those ones are like, especially Cell Block Tango. They kind of knew it was gonna be something that would go over well with the crowd from the start. So I think they put it smack dab in the middle of the show. And I didn't even know they were recording it actually. Or maybe they told us and I didn't hear, but I was like, oh, okay. And then they posted it, and it kind of got really big. I think we were even interviewed by Thomas Roberts at one point about it. But that was really, really fun. I know they had done it with other, like a couple of other friends, maybe a few years previous, but I don't know if that one was recorded in the same way that the other one was. So that one was kind of the one that was posted online. That
Did
was really fun.
you
And it was nice to do it with Ryan and Josh, who were in West Side Story, who had been in West Side Story with me.
Right. Yeah, I loved it. It was great to see on video. And like I said, huge Newsies fan. So then you're doing I'm So Pretty with Andrew Keenan Bolger, another one of my
Sure
huge
did.
crushes from Broadway. So you hit all the fun ones at all those Broadway Bears. I love what they stand for and the money they make for the organization. So
Absolutely,
it's
yeah, and it's so fun it's really fun to do as often as I can. I try doing them. I think I'm out of the running this year because I will be on tour, so I don't think I can do backwards or bears, but I will definitely watch the clips online.
my very first Broadway guy I had on, who I'm sure you know very well because you were in Priscilla, is Nick Adams. He was like my third guest ever on my
Oh,
podcast 8 years ago. So yeah,
little
I
Nicky.
love all those things, and so Broadway Bears and stuff. I got very familiar through all that. I'm in Northeast Ohio, so I'm about three
Okay.
hours from you, northeast from Columbus, and about 6 hours from downtown New York. So I try to
Oh,
sneak in
okay.
when I can to do things there. But
Nice.
I just met uh, one of the people that work for Broadway Cares, and so we're going to have them on for World AIDS Day, along with a
Oh,
couple of
wow.
my doing the AIDS event on December 1st. So yeah,
That's
great
December 1st, yeah.
organization. Yeah, very important. Let's talk about some of your television and film work first. I mean, television is now with actor strikes not doing anything, but New York is really starting to pick up with procedurals and stuff like that. How do you find the television acting gig in New York City?
Television acting, it's just a different beast in a way. It's much smaller. It's much more about the eyes and less about being large. So I knew that like I would have to get some training because all of my training in acting and really it was in theater and I came from a dance background to start, so I kind of like got into acting through dance and through theater. So I knew that when and my agents at the time, I think I was with The Mine with Dustin Flores, I believe, and they recommended I go to Bob Krakauer's class at One on One, and that's kind of the class a lot of people take to kind of familiarize themselves with how to act on screen or to how to like a few things to keep in mind not to do, a few things to do. And so I after being on the waiting list for a while because literally everybody takes this class. I got on that and it was very, very helpful. And since then, I've studied with Matt Newton Studios, who he has been really great about the logistics of booking work. Like even during the pandemic, he was the first one to be like, get these two soft boxes, get a great backdrop, start doing this, get really good at this because this is going to be a thing. And it is still a thing, even though we're past the really heart of the pandemic. The self-tape game is still kind of where it's at. And especially being on the road now, I'm very happy about that or I'm very glad it's an option, I should say, because it allows me to audition from anywhere when and if the actors strike is over. So
Yeah, it's definitely been a blessing and a curse. I had one of my friends on last week that has guested in a jillion television spots and does his own work. But he's saying that yeah, self tapes are kind of here to stay. And the good thing about them is, like you said, you can do them whenever you have a shot. If you're working another gig, you can do it afterwards. The bad part is now casting directors are literally seeing hundreds and thousands more people than they did before, and you're not really working off anybody, right? So that makes it a little more difficult.
you're not working off anybody, but like you said, there are pluses and minuses because now instead of going in cold with a reader they select, you can get one of your acting friends to actually rehearse the scene with you and then, you know, be like, oh, I think I'm going to take a pause here. Do you want to hold that for you know, or something like that? So there are pluses and minuses, and I think with the new what they're trying to negotiate with the new contract is to have a live option, like that all auditions will have to have a live option should you want to come into the room. I don't know where that's going to land. Obviously, everything's still up in the air at the
Right.
moment, but yeah, I think it is tough because for a while there, it was a little frustrating because usually as an actor, you just have to go in, study the scene, go in and show what your interpretation of the scene is and what you would bring to the character. Now you have to do that, plus you have to be your own lighting designer and your own camera op and your own editor, and like it's just like a bunch of other things that I kind of already started learning just by making my own work. But there were a lot of actors who had to kind of quickly figure out, and that's one of the things I liked about Michael Mott, and it's now kind of an industry standard that's, I believe, if you're lucky, taught in a class, or you've kind of picked up along the way.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to go into your projects you did yourself because you've done everything on it: writing, directing, camera director, gaffer, craft services, right? Kind of do a little
I
bit of
actually
everything.
have. In my most recent thing, I was the one buying the breakfast and lunch for everyone. I was
Oh my
keeping the.
gosh.
I just, yeah, I finished this. If we can get into it when you want to, but it was a lot.
We
I'll
will
talk about
talk
it. Don't
about
you
it
worry.
in just a bit, I promise. Yeah, it's a lot. But let's go into films for a second. We talked about TV. I mean, Chrissy Judy, you had a little cameo in. I love Todd Flaherty and Wyatt Fenner. I mean, that was such a great film. And I've had Todd on before, and
Oh,
Wyatt and
good.
I are waiting for one of his projects to come through so I can get him on because
Nice.
he was in between. But I love that film. Bros, of course, was so popular. Guy's been on my show. Guy Branum's been on my show before. He's coming
Oh,
on again with.
Guy. Nice.
He's the funniest man on the planet. He just thinks funny. I love it. But talk about.
Guy, yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead and finish your
I was
thought.
gonna say, Guy was really fun on set, and actually, I was very surprised because he knew my stuff. Like they had looked at my Instagram, and they're like, he was like, "You make more content than I think anyone makes ever," and I was like, "Do I?" I just kind of put up like fun things that tickle me, and so, but it was funny because I was like, I don't think anyone's watching these. People are watching them, but at the same time, it's like I'm still kind of surprised when someone knows me from that world. So the fact that it was someone who was on set with me and sort of like helping me a bit, I was like, oh, you know my stuff? Thanks. That's really nice. So that
That's
was really
very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
I love that. Now
And he was
talk
super
about the
awesome.
pacing. I mean, we did Broadway, we're doing television and films. It's got to be, how do you kind of get yourself in that mindset for the pacing? I mean, television goes relatively quickly. You're live on Broadway, and theater takes forever just to do a couple of scenes. Do you have a pacing that you prefer, or just kind of a go with the flow kind of guy?
I'm definitely more of a go with the flow. TV and film is very hurry up and wait. Like you're brought to set, they put you in hair and makeup, and then you're sitting until they need you. And that's just kind of the nature of the beast because there's so many working parts happening on a set that it's like you just have to be sure that you are ready with your part. And because I never want to be the guy who's holding up production because, oh, what was that line? Or like not knowing how you should navigate yourself around a camera. Like, so you just have to kind of be on the ball, but it's a little hard because sometimes you'll be like sitting there longer than they think because they're running long. So it's like, oh, it's sitting for 5 hours. Now get on set and be good. And it's like, okay, but that's the job. And so that's that
Right.
part. For theater, it's a little different because like when the show starts, it's kind of like you're jumping on a train and you're just like, the train is going to go and it's going to keep going. So you just have to stay on that train. And there are times where it's like, oh, something happens here and there, and we got to like kind of figure it out as we go. I'm learning like so much from Rob McClure when it comes to that. He is an expert of like, if something happens over here, we just keep going because we're doing this. He's very good on the spot. And I really think that improv training helps with that. I think improv training helps with both like theater in general and auditions especially. So I would say, yeah, so it's kind of like hurry up and wait is TV and jumping on a train is theater to me.
Let's go into your theater. I mean, you've had an impressive resume. Two of my favorite shows are Chorus Line and Priscilla. I've seen both of them quite a few times.
Yeah.
And West Side Story is just like a classic, one of your first major Broadway runs. Talk about
Mm.
your experiences with them, any of your favorites. What do you remember from any of those three shows?
Chorus Line was actually my first equity job, and I was I had gotten back from an international tour of West Side Story and was set to go out again, and they had a call for the first national tour of Chorus Line. And I was like, okay, since I'm here, I'll go in. And it ended up working out. And so it was very odd, and this does not happen a lot, but like my first equity job was a production tour of the first national of a chorus line. It's like that usually doesn't happen. Normally it's like you go do some regional and you kind of wet your feet a little bit and you kind of feel all that out and you but yeah, so I jumped on that and it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And Chorus Line's such an iconic show. It was so, I couldn't believe I was like being taught by Bjork Lee. It was just like great, like priceless in a way. And Michael Gorman as well. Michael Gorman was her assistant. He was amazing. And so it was just so amazing to be on that tour right at that time, like right as the revival had happened. And like it was so like I don't know, very like a very popular show, very like yeah, it was just a kind of a dream come true, especially for a dancer, I would say. Um what was interesting is I came off of that and I was like, okay, got to get back to the grind of auditioning. And my first audition was West Side Story Broadway, and I booked that again. I was like, oh, okay, this is just how it's gonna go, and it didn't go like that in my 30s, but it was like interesting. Like I just kind of hopped from show to show in my 20s, and that was and it was like iconic big shows, and so those were all dreams come true for me, I'd say.
I love that. I mean, Chorus Line and Rent are two of the productions where I love seeing on Broadway. I love seeing touring. I love seeing regional. I love seeing city productions. They're just such fun to see how people do them, right? I kind of love those kind of shows.
Absolutely,
And then talk
especially a
about
chorus line
Priscilla.
because it's literally about actors and dancers. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Priscilla, oh my God, like is yeah, Priscilla's basically every little gay boy's dream of a show, I think. Um, I had done this show called Surf the Musical. It did not go. It was like a show that tried to go. It was a Beach Boys show, with the Beach Boys music in Las Vegas, and they tried their darndest to make it happen. It did not happen. But my entrance was in like a like model Thunderbird like car, like driving directly down stage, and I was like, oh, nothing's gonna beat this entrance. And then I got to go on as Adam and Priscilla, where you're like descending from the sky on a big silver dollar sign, dressed up as Madonna / Marilyn Monroe, and I was like, okay, this beats it. This is the entrance.
That
It's such a fun show, and like so athletic. You never stop moving. Backstage, you're dancing the whole time on stage. I like it was it was like a little gay boy's dream. It's still one of my favorite productions, if not my favorite production I've been a part of.
it's amazing to see. One of my favorite to watch, and I just can't imagine performing because, like you said, there's something happening all the time. You're moving. You got all those numbers, the costumes. It's like, yeah, that would be a gay boy's dream on that for sure.
Oh yeah.
And then Mrs. Doubtfire, and now you're in Columbus, Ohio now for a week. So I'm going to try to sneak up there if I can on Thursday. I'm not sure if I can or not, but
Okay.
and it's such I really want to see it bad. Mark Evans has been on the show. I love him and his husband, and he
Oh
originated one
yeah.
of the roles
Nice.
in on Broadway. And of course, we had J. Harrison Gee, who won a Tony. Now was one of the original people in it. So it's like it's iconic without even really being had his chance to do anything on Broadway. This first touring company's got to be kind of exciting to prove its worth across the country, right?
I think there's an element of that. I think, like you said, COVID just kind of killed this show. It was in previews when COVID hit, and then it tried to come back, but it's such a family-oriented show that it came back when you could vaccinate your 12-year-old, but you couldn't vaccinate your 5-year-old. So a lot of families were waiting to come back to Broadway until all of that could happen and everyone felt safe in the theater, and rightfully so. But I just think it really hurt the core audience that Mrs. Doubtfire really speaks to. So this tour, Rob said at one point towards the end of our rehearsals, is like, you guys are realizing the dreams that have like started 5 years ago in Seattle when they originally started this show. And so it feels like a joy for that, and it's also like a big responsibility to just like really bring the heart of this show to America at a time when I think America could use a show like Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, agreed, definitely.
Mm.
Like I said, I never got to see it. I really wanted to go up and see Mark, but it was, like I said, such a short time. When I came back
Hmm.
was a relatively short time. So I didn't get to drive over and see it. So I really hope I can go this week, but welcome to Ohio. It's cloudy and rainy, and I don't like to drive in the rain. So we'll see what happens. If I
Well,
can, we'll make it.
we are in Cincinnati and Cleveland as well at some point. So are those
Well,
anywhere near
Cleveland's only
you?
an hour. Columbus is 3 hours. I'll go through a storm to go to Cleveland, so that's good.
I think Cleveland is January, so it's gonna be cold, but we're
Oh,
there for 3 weeks. So if you don't make it this week, you have another chance.
there you go. All right, I made a switch to that then because I'm relatively lazy and don't feel like driving 3 hours this week, to be honest. But
Understandable. Understandable.
I love that. Talk about some of your other theater work. I mean, you did the dance choreography for Icons.
Hmm.
Pageant, I loved your little snippets you did with Nick and Pageant. Those things were just
Oh, that
hilarious.
was
Like so short, so cute, so funny. Talk about those two pieces.
well, Icons was so interesting. Icons happened at a time when, like, at a perfect time for it to happen. My director, Tom Dangora, and Michael Dangora, his husband, also associate director, um, they had this. They basically had the entire venue of the post office at in Provincetown, called the post office. Yeah, and it the owner wanted them to have a drag show. They didn't really have a drag show in their milieu. It was like they do musicals and they do like special performer. Like Christine Petty was there doing her stuff, and she's amazing. But the owner was insisting on a drag show, and so Tom said, "Well, the only thing that's not happening in Provincetown drag wise is like a dance show, at like a younger like pop dance show." And so he asked me because he was like, "Hey, you know dance." He worked with me on Naked Boy Singing. He knew like I could do I knew my way around some choreography. So he asked if I would help, and I wanted to. I thought it was a good idea, and so we recreated these live performances and music videos of these pop stars, starting with Cher and Tina Turner and ending with Beyonce and Gaga because they had just released the Telephone video. So we kind of like bookended it with those two. And in the middle did like Janet, Madonna, Britney, Katy Perry, like, and so we just kind of like went up through the years. We did not expect it to be like, we were just like, oh, it's going to be a placeholder for so that we can have the venue. Um, they called me. I was on West Side Story on Broadway at the time. I got a call from them, and it's just like this cacophonous background noise, and they're like, "Alex, you don't understand." Like 5 standing ovations, and I was like, "What? I'm in a show. Call me back later." And it was the hit of 2010 in Provincetown, and then I came out and emceed it and danced in it for 2011, and we all really loved the show, and so Tom made it happen off Broadway, and the response was fantastic. We had like kind of a short run, but everyone who came it had the best time. And aside from that, choreography wise, I've also done The Marvelous Wonderettes with them, the revival of that off Broadway. And that was like quite an undertaking. They sold it to me as like, it's going to be a little like bebops and like step touches. And it's like, it's actually 24 songs that they're singing, and you need like kind of different step touches for each of them. So that was probably the most difficult, even though it's not really like, kick your face dancing. You kind of had to like wrap your mind around, okay, what was a dance in the 60s but wasn't around in the 50s? Because Act 1 is the 50s, Act 2 is the 60s, so you kind of had to like build the acts around those two things. But it was fun in that way to be challenged like that. And as for pageant, that was real fun. The shorts that we did happened like way before TikTok was a thing, way before videos on Instagram was a thing. So we were posting these on Facebook, and like we just randomly in this, I want to say 70 to 80 minute show, Nick and I both had like a 20-minute break because I get done with my talent and then he goes right after me, and then everyone else has to do their talent and spokesmodel, and we were just done. So we got bored and we started like cracking jokes, and I was like, oh, let me record that. That's kind of funny. And we posted them, and like people could be like, do more of these. Even Alice Ripley was one of our biggest fans. She like chimed in and was like, I live for these. And So we tried to do a tribute to her at one time where our hair gets stuck together on a brush and we play "I Will Never Leave You," which was kind of fun. But yeah, those were fun, and those boys, everyone was so fantastic on that show. So that's a really fun memory.
I rabbit hole down. My favorite was the cups when Nick was playing with the cup. Hilarious, absolutely hilarious.
That's because we did that because Kira, the woman who won Miss America that year, I believe, did that as her talent. She did that, but with a different song, or oh no, she did it. Yeah, she did the cups with "I'm Happy," and we thought it was funny, but she won with that, and it was like, oh wow, cool. So we recreated it because Kira had actually come to our show. A lot of pageant girls came to our show to see it. Because our choreographer Shay Sullivan, she worked with pageant girls and helped them with their talents and stuff like that. So we got to see
Nice.
Miss America got to see us, so we wanted to give her a little tribute with the cups.
I love that. They are hilarious. I figured Icons would have been a hit. I mean, I was the kind of guy that every time I went to Vegas, I had to see Legends in concert because they usually have the cast rotate through. I love those kind of shows where
Hmm.
it's especially when you're booking like from Tina to Gaia, because you really do have that something for everybody in there, right? So that's amazing. Wish I would have been able to see
Absolutely.
that.
And then we had like, some comedy bits too. I think we had a Whitney number, but when she passed, we were like, we can't really do Whitney anymore. And we had a Celine parody in there that was kind of more of a comedy parody. So it was like dance and comedy combined. It was really, really funny.
Now you talk about TikTok and things like that. You're huge, having so much fun on TikTok. I mean, we got you covered up with your sweater, which is right, but I mean, your morning shots. Goodness gracious, thirst trap but fun. Where do you find these windows on tour? You got some good
Oh,
lighting.
that's all I found that window and people started liking them, so I post them. Sometimes I'm like, ooh. Sometimes I'm like, that crop's getting a little low, Ringler. Maybe bump it up a little bit. But TikTok happened like most people around COVID because we were all kind of bored and on our phones, and I was like, well, what's this new app that happened? And I did some videos that I always do things that I think are fun, and like if other people like them, great. And a lot of times they do, sometimes they don't, and I'm like, that's okay. That one was for me. But yeah, I initially got some attention for something I did, like a trend that was happening that I did in heels, like in booty shorts and heels, and like it went like it's up to 14 million views or something.
Oh
And
my
so I
goodness.
just kind of kept going from there and just uh doing comedy stuff, dance stuff, heel stuff, anything that I found fun, I just kind of put out there. But that's kind of what started the Annoyingly Fit Neighbor was I kind of did that as a sketch idea that I had because at that point I was exercising outside a lot and growing up as a fat kid, I was like also the guy who sat on the couch and would watch other people exercise and be like, screw that guy, and I was like, or so it's like I understood both sides of it. So I was like, well, so because I have this history and now I'm this like guy who's doing like a jumping rope outside for a half hour in 100-degree heat, like let's make fun of that. Let's be both sides of that and make fun of that. And I put my first one up on Facebook again. I liked Facebook for some reason, but no, I think that at that time there wasn't really like Reels hadn't happened on Instagram, and it
Oh,
was still very short form on TikTok. I think they had just branched out to you could do a minute, but up until then it was like 15 seconds, and so um and that's what that started that. I got attention for the first one. Everyone was laughing, and it felt good to be making people laugh at a time when everything was like kind of not great around. So I I kind of latched onto that, and people were like, "We need to laugh right now." I was like, "Okay, let's keep making these." And it just ended up that I kept doing it, and I wanted to keep doing it. And I was like, "Well, let's turn this into a series," because my friend Jack Plotnick, who is also an acting coach of mine, he was the first one to say, "It's like everyone has an HD camera in their pocket now, and no one's working because everything's shut down. Write something, shoot something you've always wanted to, shoot yourself in a part you've always wanted to play, like do that." And I was like, okay, so maybe this can be that. And it did. I did like I think 21 full episodes and a couple other shorts of it. So it was fun.
It's fun. We'll go into that now because I want to go through your work, and I think that was a lot of fun for it. I love and I mean with gay relations and with that, you're very good at talking to yourself. You know how to make those cuts. Do you ever get lost talking to yourself? Goodness gracious, you are pretty.
I I learned as I went, I will say, because I knew that like I've watched tons of TV in my life. Ask my partner. There's always like a TV on when I'm even doing other stuff. Just I don't know why. It's kind of like white noise to me. But I've watched a lot of TV, and so from that I've learned like okay, when a person's talking, it doesn't just stay on that person. It like gets the reaction shot of the other person. So what I would do is I'd have to like say the lines as one person and then go back through and like read the other lines and be like, okay, what's he gonna react? He's gonna be like, what was that about? Or he's gonna have like a shocked face when he says that or something like that. So I'd have to do the lines and react to the other lines as though they were being said. So it is kind of like I'm a crazy person talking to myself when I do these things.
It's so much fun though. I loved every bit of it, and it's kind of was it COVID restrictions that made you play every character, or was it just that was the thought from the beginning to play every character?
Well, yeah, you couldn't, it wasn't safe to be around other people. In the finale of Fit Neighbor, I brought other actors in because I did a time jump into the future and we were allowed to be around other people and we were allowed to be around other people inside without masks at that point. So I was like, okay, let's bring some friends in. Let's actually finish this and make it look nice. But also, when you have other actors, they all have other schedules that you have to deal with, and it's sometimes hard to get everyone in the same place at the same time with a crew, with the light, like with everyone. Like the fact that anything gets made, I'm like, how did all this get made? Um, so it was easier, and that's kind of why I did Haunted as well, because Fit Neighbor was done. My partner was very like, hey, you like when you're doing something, and I wasn't doing anything at that moment. He knows it's kind of like good for my psyche when I'm working on something. So he's like, what else could you do? That's something you wouldn't need other people for, like, and so it was around Halloween. He was like, what about something horror related? I was like, oh yeah, that's true, because kind of the scariest stuff is the stuff where it's like just one person in a house and they're hearing things. I was like, okay, so I could work with that.
It's very cool. And then you get all these accolades on top of it. I mean, you were a winner in Philadelphia Flicks. You were in all these, you were mentioned at all the official
Thanks, yeah.
selections. How exciting is that to actually get recognized when you're just kind of having fun and trying to pass the time during a pandemic? That's pretty nice.
It's nice, and it's also like it's kind of you think you're good at these things, and you have your friends and everything saying you're good at these things, but to get recognition, it's like okay, you actually have some clout here. You're actually there's evidence here that you're actually good at what you're doing, and so it actually inspires you more to do more work and to continue with your work. So I mean, it's great to get accolades, but it's still like stuff whenever I'm thinking about doing something, I'm like, okay, I need to do something that is fun for me. If that fun isn't there, like inside, then it'll feel like a job, and then I think it'll start looking like a job too, which I don't like. I even like when doing TikToks and reels and stuff like that. Sometimes views will get low because algorithms do what they're gonna do. And back a couple years ago, I would like, okay, what's a trending sound I can do to maybe get some more views? But those would always be like my like worst things that I didn't like to watch. So that from that point I was like, okay, you just kind of need to do you and do what you like to do and what tickles you. And if other people get it, great. If they don't, they can move on.
I've learned that after 8 years of doing this, I've been up to 40,000 listeners. I've been down to 4,000 listeners, but I try to have fun for it. So as long as I'm
Yeah,
having fun and it's my own show, so it's like if I don't want them on, I don't have them on. If it's something that I'm not interested in, so it's you need to do it for yourself because that's what we're you want other
absolutely.
people to enjoy it, but you have to enjoy
Mhm.
it first for other people. I think.
But
Now
I
you
think being
talk about a
authentic to what you find, I think being authentic to what you find interesting will find your natural crowd. Like if you're trying to like pander to something, it'll bring a crowd that maybe you don't want. So I think just being authentic to what you are passionate about or what tickles you or what have you will bring the audience that is supposed to be brought to you.
well said. And we're getting out of spooky season, like I said earlier. So I had a lot of horror guests on the last month. So Haunted, it reminded me, we had a couple of talks, a couple of them, how sound is so integral in horror. And you did some great sound in that. I think that's what really brought the tension in that. So well done on you, my friend.
Thanks. I even watching it back, I'm like, oh, I wish I took that down a little bit. Like I'm a perfectionist, but another thing, like I kind of latch onto that Jack Plotnick teaches is it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, and I'm so like especially coming from a dance background, it's like see, repeat, perfect, and with you kind of have to let that go at some point and be like, okay, a tenth of a second, yes, it matters, but maybe not as much as you think it does. So, but thank you for, yeah, the sound was definitely something I took into consideration with that. I wanted to create the world, to create the tension, especially when it's a single person. It's like you're not acting off of anything. So what you're acting off of is the tension surrounding that situation.
Right. And then we have the struggle. That's where I kind of, like I said, got introduced you from Michael. You were
Yeah.
raising money for this, and in short, you filmed. Did you film all of it? You filmed some of it, or where's the struggle at now? Let everyone know what that's about and what they can expect in that.
The struggle is in the can. It's being edited. We had a kind of soft preview or a soft premiere of the first 4 episodes for the cast and crew right before I left for the Doubtfire tour. I recently edited a trailer, and I'm going to try to now pitch it to some streaming platforms. I'm not sure exactly who yet, so I won't mention any names, but everything, it's great. We shot this in 6 days. I don't know how we got all this footage, like because there was one day where we were in an apartment for 10 hours and we did 33 pages. Now, I didn't know that that's not something that's done normally. Usually, and my director told me this like sort of towards the end of the day. He's like, just so you know, we're moving at a crazy pace here, and but the thing was, we weren't precious about a lot. We weren't like, okay, we need every angle of this one line. We didn't. We got a good shot. We got a good shot. Let's move on. But normally it's like a page an hour or like an hour a page. And I was like, oh, we're doing a lot more than that. So I like just can't thank my actors and crew enough for putting up with the crazy pace of the day. Even one of my sound guys was like, I've never done this many pages, and this is insane what you guys are doing. I was like, okay, good to know. So it's great. I thank you to all my donors. We ended up raising like just enough. I thought we raised way over what we needed. We raised just enough because everything costs us like twice as much as you think it's going to. We're in the final stages of editing the rough cuts, or like the second drafts of each episode, and then I and my director will probably go through and fine tune it. And then we're hopefully going to start pitching it to some streaming services soon. I need to kind of check the legalities of. We were SAG compliant. We were a micro budget, and those were able to continue to be working during the strike, and so we did it. But we had actually wrapped principal photography before the actors strike happened. So everything was great, and yeah. So now it's just about like finding someone who wants to show it on their streaming platform, and if all else fails, it'll go up on my platform, and I'm happy to do that. But I paid my actors, but it would be nice to like give them a little bonus if we get signed and we get some money for it. So
Congratulations on that. I can't wait to kind of see where it comes.
thanks.
And there's so
I'll
many
send you
options.
secretly the trailer. Just you
You're
can't
my
share
new
it there,
best friend. I love you. Thank you for that. Tell me where you came up with your production name, Jumpity Doo. I love that. I mean, I saw you jump roped all through that first show, but where did Jumpity Doo come from?
Jumpy Doo Doo actually came from my sister's wedding. They wanted to do exactly. They wanted to do a choreographed number in the middle of their wedding, but not like most like, we're dancing together and we do a twirl kind of numbers. My sister wanted to recreate the Fatboy Slim video for Praise You from the 90s, which I was like, yes, I will do that. And so I helped her, but it was like involving all of the like bridesmaids and groomsmen who are not dancers, but in the Fatboy Slim video, they weren't either. They were taught like kind of on the spot, and it was supposed to be like regular people all getting together and dancing. So I thought this was fantastic. But in teaching it, you can't say like, do a jeté here. This is a pirouette. You can't use dance terms. So there was this one jump that for I don't even know, ton de flèche maybe. And instead of saying that, I was like, okay, and then we do our jumpity doos. And there were like 8 of them in a row. So I was like calling things out as we were going through the dance. And so that when I said that, I was like, if I ever have a production company, I'm gonna name it Jumpity Doo Productions. So that's where that came from.
You either had the straight boys immediately on board or scratching their heads going, oh my God, that's funny.
They were on board. They were in it to win it. I don't know where the video is, but the video is out there somewhere. It didn't go perfectly, but it's still out there.
All right, and last thing, Alex, before I let you go, and we'll do the 5 questions later. You have a great website, and we'll give it in a bit. And I love when people post their resumes on their website, because I can always bust their balls a little bit on that. So I need to hear from you your Family Guy impersonation and your alternate eyebrow talent.
All right, here's the eyebrows. They're not as great as they normally are because I went to the dentist recently.
There you go. I love that.
For Family Guy, the best Family Guy I do is Herbert the Pervert. Do you know that one from Family Guy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he talks like this, and he's whistling in his voice, and he just wants Chris Griffin to come do some squat thrusts on his front lawn and bring him some good news. So that's.
I love that. Just enough we won't get any copyright violations. I like that.
Mike Henry, I'm sorry, but if you ever want a break, I can do Herbert for you, Mike Henry.
There you go. Well done. Alex Ringler, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the Left of Str8 Show. Guys, you got to go look for Miss Doubtfire touring. There's a website. You can find it. I love that. I love that sweater. Sweater weather.
Sweater weather.
You got to see that. Look out for the struggle that should be hopefully coming on a streaming network to you, hopefully a Hulu, or if we have to, Deco. If not, we'll go to your website. What the heck? We'll see it somewhere.
We'll figure it out. It'll be up there, yeah, hopefully by the spring.
Alex, you're the best. Let everyone know where they can find you on your social media and TikTok, and where they can find your great website, because you have some good videos and pictures on there.
Thanks. It's alexringler.com for the website, at Alex Ringler for Instagram, and I think TikTok is at Alex Ringler 0, because there's a teenage girl who has Alex Ringler in there, and she keeps it. I check it from time to time. She still has it. I was like, well, you got there first, so good on you.
There you go. Rude, but she did get there first. I love it.
She got there
Congratulations.
First.
All your success. Have fun on the tour. Like I said, if I don't see you this Thursday, I will see you in Cleveland. Whenever you guys get to Cleveland, guaranteed. So we'll have a coffee afterwards or something. And
I'd love that. Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see the casino and we'll play poker.
There you go.
All right. Well, stay on the line for me, guys. Like I said, be sure to check out the tour schedule for Mr. Doubtfire. Check Alex's great work for all of his streaming. You can find on his website or on his production company's YouTube page. We'll be back with another interview next week, because you're listening to Left of Str8 Show. We have them every Thursday and Friday for you. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to the Left of Str8 Show. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast distributor, and please give us a 5-star rating so more listeners can find us. You can follow us on social media, and be sure to check out our website, www.leftofstraightradio.com, for contests and other news and information. See you next week.